y'all doing? Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the Central. Good evening on the East Coast. I sure hope you had a beautiful, fabulous, wonderful day, family. I'm so happy and thrilled to be with you on this special edition live. We gotta talk about this Prop 13, okay? This Prop 13 down here in LA, where they're literally trying to gentrify us out of our own communities at our own expense to the tune of $150 billion. And I've got the beautiful, the incredible, the intelligent Amelia Milan, Beverly Hills realtor, who's coming on the live momentarily when the music fades to share with you. She's going to drop that knowledge like she dropped it this past Saturday at the ADOS SoCal General Meeting. We were so thrilled to see this powerhouse come through. We had no idea who God was going to send, but He sent her, and she had her Prop 13 manual marked up to teach us that we've got to read. We must become politically educated so that we can read through the lines where they're constantly looking to cut us out as ADOS. Right, family? We don't know how to respond if we don't read these measures thoroughly. That's what they count on, you know? They don't count on us reading it. They don't count on an Amelia Milan to come through the SoCal meetings to talk about it, to share what she knows as a realtor down here in SoCal. We were grateful. We learned a lot. Loopholes, all kinds of tricks, family, in these propositions. You must get with your people and read them thoroughly with a fine-tooth comb. Because it's not what's in black and white. It's what's underneath the black and white, right? It's a fine print. She's going to talk about it, family. In the meantime, Bloomberg is blaming ADOS for redlining. Ain't that about a trip? Yes, the thieves are in the house, robbing us and then blaming us, right? What's up, Cat Lingo? I see you, fam. Thank you for joining the live. Gonna bring my guests up momentarily. But yeah, Bloomberg, Steve Mnuchin, who Kamala Harris would not bring up on criminal charges when he wrongfully foreclosed on homes in the Bay. He's now the Treasury Secretary. It was a big money grab. 8 million homes were stolen in the process of the real estate bust. Yes, back in 2008. Well, yes, 2008. Obama was in office, right, family? Can't blame Trump for that one. He sure set them up for the kill, though, right? Big money grab. Yes. Caligo, watch it. It's a family show. We're educating over here. Watch your language, young man. But yeah, we're going to talk about it because we are being set up. And until we really invest in this political education, family, they're going to keep driving us down and making us fight to prevent from becoming a permanent underclass in the country our ancestors built with their lives, right? I see you, Antonia Edwards. Good evening from Connecticut. Caligo, good evening from SoCal, Los Angeles. Thank you for joining us live. Yes. So we're about to bring her up. She is everything, and she's going to give us an education that you can take back to your own chapters where you're slinging bricks and teach them how to read between the lines, how to read the fine print and see the trickery that they've got in store for the ADOS so we can avoid those pitfalls, right, family? Yes. With that said, I'm going to bring her up. She is everything. Miss Amelia Milan. Hi, gorgeous.
Hello, my beautiful queen. Hello, my beautiful kings and queens. Good evening, everybody. Hello, ADOS people. Love you guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having
I
me.
am so thrilled that you decided. What's up, Roland? Thank you for joining the live. I
Hey,
got my
Roland.
people. I always got to give them shout outs. You probably see them in the chat. You guys got questions or comments, you know what to do. And always tell me where you're slinging bricks from, okay? So I can give you a shout out and thank you for your love of the ADOS family and for just doing what you do to make sure we make serious noise this election cycle and beyond. So, Amelia, I just want to thank you because we just met, but you feel like my sister from another mister instantly.
Girl,
I
I'm your
just
sister from
adored
the day
you.
before. You know.
Okay, that too. That too. And I
Sister
was
from
just
the
so
day
thrilled.
before.
Yes, baby, I was thrilled to have you come through the doors of the SoCal meeting and just in the fireball way that you did to drop knowledge. And I just needed you to share with my family because you dropped such a heavy load on that Prop 13 and helping us to understand it is the only prop for the primary. Of course, there'll be more coming up in November, and I'm definitely going to sit with you and do the homework that you taught us to do and highlights. I mean, you had your stuff ready to roll. And I needed because my ADOS family wasn't there. They're from all over the country, all over the world. We have a fan all the way in the Philippines, William. He may tune in, but we're everywhere. And we need this information. We're learning. A lot of us are neophytes, but we realize after 8 years of Obama, we are worse off instead of better off when we put him into office for 2 terms. And
Mhm.
so we're learning, flying by the seat of our pants and making sure this election cycle we get it right. So could
Okay.
you please just first of all give us a little background while I plug in my computer because my battery looks like it's going low. I want you to share with my family who you are. How did you become the political mistress that you are? And just a little of your background. Show my family some love. I'm going to plug in my computer. I'll be right back.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I hope everybody had the best day. Yeah, I always have to start with that. I have so much gratitude in my life. But first, I want to start with I've been a realtor for 16 years. And one of the things that I have always done is I am a really big social person, but I'm also a really big hearing person. And so when I'm around a lot of people, especially at the level in which we do real estate for the company that I work for, I get to see the way the those that are making sure that we don't have a seat at the table, um, how it's done. I get to see how creating a seat at the table is done. And those opportunities have really never been available to us. They've never been available to us. And I'm really here not as a politician, but as a person uh, who I'm tired of talking about it. I talk to a lot of people who talk a lot about it, but I don't talk to a lot of people who are doing anything about it. And so I got off of my hypocritical ass and stopped family show. No, got up off my hypocritical butt and went and did the work and went and did the work. And that's a large part of my character. I don't like for someone to tell me something that I too have not studied and then ask me to make a decision on it. You know, it's like I'm going to give you a little bit of information and I want you to make a whole decision. And so I got very uncomfortable with that because that's kind of how our government is ran right now. I'm going to give you a little bit of information and I want you to make a whole entire decision. And the reason why we do that is because they count on the fact that we are not paying attention from the ground up, but we are only looking from the top down. And that's just a part of the American culture, or how we've been systemically programmed to be. And so I'm on here tonight, you guys, to bring you Proposition 13 that's on this ballot. It ain't your grandmama's proposition. This is not the Proposition 13 that gave you the tax benefits that you would have otherwise had. No, this is a proposition that is actually making us pay for the gentrification that is occurring in our own neighborhoods. So, and the way that they're doing it is they're sneaking it in there with a ton of loopholes. It's a ton of loopholes. They count on the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that we look at ballots and propositions like this, when they really should look like this. We don't read. That's what we don't do, Angela. We don't read. And we count on a second party or a third party or a fourth party to tell us what we should do, where we should vote. And we do it emotionally. And our government counts on that. They prey on the Black or the minority's emotional state, because they know if you are so emotional about surviving, you'll be distracted while they steal the
Your
very
very survival.
thing to survive on. And that is our fault. So the first thing we need to do is start with accountability. Angela, why don't you tell me? You tell me, why do you think we don't read?
Well, I think it's a number of reasons. I think that sometimes we're so mired in our own survival that
Mm-hmm.
we don't take time, especially for politics. I myself only got politically engaged after 8 years of Obama and realizing that my people were still the legs of the table that everyone else eats from.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working on Bernie Sanders' campaign, and I saw all the tricks and how Russia was blamed. Hold on one second. It's okay, sweetheart. Come on in. I hear you. So does my audience. They know the ADOS life is happening, right, family? What up,
Right.
Drew? Thank you for joining the line. Yeah, so that's when I started saying, okay, here I've got someone that looks like me, and I got caught up in the identity politics of it all, the
Sure.
identity politics, and I fell for that. And I realized I had done myself a huge disservice. You know, many of us have been conditioned to vote blue no matter who.
That
And
part.
many of us have been conditioned to wait until the next election cycle before we get or ask for anything. And so in 2014, I started working for Bernie Sanders' campaign, and I was privileged to be introduced to the incredible Yvette Carnell, whom I love. She was with Boyce Watkins at the time, I do believe. That was my introduction to one of her videos. And I just started following her, and I fell in love with the fact that she used data and just kept growing in knowledge, and seeing the tricks in the Bernie Sanders campaign, how they get this, fake outrage when it comes to the electoral college, but then they don't tell you that the super delegates are doing the same thing as the electoral college, voting against the will of the people when they decided on someone like Hillary Clinton. So and another thing, let me share this. Far too often, we don't get politically engaged until the politics hits us in our bottom line. I was earning over six figures with a major bank out here that ultimately, Wells Fargo, that ultimately replaced us with Hispanics. And it cost two of my friends' lives. And they were ADOS. And one was in her mid 20s, and she died from a stress induced aneurysm when she was told she could no longer go to school on company time because her sales numbers were struggling. When we know ultimately Wall Street and the banks had everything to do with why her sales numbers were struggling. And then the other one died from sarcoidosis after 17 years with the bank when she left behind a husband of 5 years and a son of three. And she was in her early 40s. And they started coming for her. That's what they do in corporate. When they want to phase you out, they start moving the bar. You reach the bar, they move it a little more. The stress just keeps mounting. And so I ultimately chose to quit in September 2009 because I had a 5-year-old that needed me. And when I realized I've got 5 weeks of vacation, but I'm carrying my laptop on holiday like a noose around my neck because of that bar continuing to move constantly.
Mhm.
That's when I knew I had a daughter to live for, and I leapt. And the net
Right.
appeared, but I still have not recovered the 6 figures because down here in LA, you now have to speak Spanish for a lot of corporate positions as another form of discrimination to keep you out of the running. And we have no social capital at the tables, the hiring tables.
Mm-mm.
So my whole thing with this show is to help my ADOS family throughout the country and the world to become familiar with me, my ethics, my integrity, how I move, ebb and flow, and to bring on bright stars like yourself who got it early on, the importance of studying, the importance of reading between the lines so that we can help educate each other and make better political decisions for the sake of our children and our collective lineage at large,
Yes.
because they're coming for us on every front.
And they're coming for us more so now. We're distracted by so many things. And when you talk about like dropping knowledge, when I was 9 years old, I was sent to a foster home. And the reason why I survived that foster home is I walked into one of the rooms of the home and I just saw books everywhere on the wall. And so I read my way through my childhood traumas. And I read my way through foster homes, and I read my way through, childhood abuse and things like that. And so I was always more interested in growing my mind than worrying about anything else, because I just felt like if I was right in my mind, then I could at least navigate my way through just about anything, because so if they can come for our mind, if they can come for our inability to want to get out there and find out what they're actually doing, then they're going to win every single time. I mean, we should be at a place right now in the Black community where we're having pop-up political parties, where we're all sitting together with a booklet like this. Everybody bring your ice cream, sugar bears, and candy, and a glass of wine or something, and literally have a party, a study party with the entire booklet and all of its measures and all its propositions, all the way down to who's voting for the clerk. We should know that. We should know that as a culture, as a community, and as a people. We have watched them eviscerate our history right before our eyes and deny it to us in our face.
Hmm.
And we do not have the proper comeback because we don't know our own history. And the only reason why we lack that, one, they didn't put it in there. So that goes in part with not reading. If you don't going to read it, then they know you're not going to look for it. Of course, you're not going to go look for it. It's a process. They're not going to give it to you. They count on you not going to get it. And when you do, they count on the fact that you're not going to sit, read it, absorb it, break it down, and see what it's actually saying to you. Which brings us back
Absolutely.
to Proposition 13. If anybody has their ballot right now, their book, this book right here, my kings and queens, this one, the official California presidential primary election Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020 booklet, which has, some of the local councilmen and things like that. We don't know who they are. Why aren't we finding out who our local representatives are? Because those local representatives go to the next level, as you put it, Angela. and the next level. And before you know it, they're Barack Obama, who hasn't done anything for us for the last 8 years. Okay, because he's very eloquent. He's very handsome, and he represents a crossover type of individual who won't make a lot of noise, even when he talks eloquently. He doesn't. I love Barack Obama in that I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I voted for him because he was black. Don't get it twisted. That's what I won't do. You won't get me to lie. I love being a black woman and I love my people. So yes, if I had the opportunity to vote in someone who I at least thought was better than the rest, and he was, I do still have a mind. I didn't vote for him just because he was black, but a black, intelligent man representing what I look like, absolutely, I'm going to take one for the team. I'll be your Huckleberry, and I'm going to vote for him. Yes, I did. But no, I did not vote for him the second term.
And why is that? Did you look at his record for the first 4 years? What made you not vote for him a second term? Because let me tell you what made me vote for him a second term. The fact that everyone kept telling me it took George Bush 8 years to drive us into the ditch. The least you can do is give him 8 years to bring us out. So my question to you is, how are you an exception and didn't fall for that trick?
Because he wasn't doing anything in the first 4. See, here's the thing. We are a people of hope. We hope you gonna hear us. We hope you gonna see us. We hope that when we work twice as hard, twice as long, and get twice as less as the next person, we hope you're going to see our value and our effort and then pay us accordingly. We are a hoping people. And so we let things go on.
They prayed on that hope.
They pray on that hope. They count on it, because what we will do is we won't stop that stuff in its tracks, because we hope it will get better. Let me tell you how they vote. Ain't no ring on this finger. You feel what I'm saying? If you are not performing immediately for them, they going somewhere else. They looking somewhere else. They gonna fight that. You wonder why Trump changes his cabinet often? If you are not doing exactly what he wants you to do, exactly when he wants you to do it, bye-bye, Felicia. But us, give him another chance, baby. He gonna change. No, they'll come around. No, just give him a moment. They count on us to do that. And while we're sitting there trying to figure out if they're going to get it, they have already stolen it. And that is why I did not vote for him a second term. I'll be honest with you. I set that one out. I said, this government is going in a direction of complete distraction. So I am going to sit back and see what they're actually doing. And so I started picking up things. I started reading things. I started finding out, hey, who's that over there? It hasn't hurt us enough. It hasn't, with all our people dying, with all the job losses, with all the gentrification, with all of this, it hasn't hurt us enough. Because I am telling you, let's go back to what they do. They will let that stuff go on and on and on with half the population, but let something happen to something or someone important to them. We got new laws, we got new rules, we've got a whole new funding situation going over here because something happened to that senator's wife or that person's daughter who's high up in the political world. Then you start seeing changes happen. So why can't they happen right down here?
Thank you for that. Can you please share with us, because I thought it was so profound that Prop 13 has been done before under a different measure, and how they're trying to trick us to vote yes for it because it was an emphatic and enthusiastic yes the last time Prop 13 was used, and this time we're a no for reasons that you're going to disclose on this live. Can you tell us what is that all about, other than to trick us into voting yes for the very thing? What up, JoJo? What up? What up, Caitlin? What up, Zipporah? Thank you guys for joining the live. I'll read your comments and your questions towards the end of the show. Y'all know how we do. Y'all, my faithfuls. Thank you for riding and rolling with the Friends of ADOS TV channel. Thank you. Like I was asking, could you please share with my family how, because this is happening all over the country, where they're kind of revitalizing these propositions that they want to steer you in the direction of a yes when it should be no.
Well, first, the first thing they do is insult your intelligence because they believe you lack it. Everybody knows that. Hey, Sephora. Hey, Zizi. Love you, honey.
Are those your
Um,
friends?
that's my girl. That's my queen.
I
Um,
love it.
they count on the facts that you don't research it because everybody knows what a big benefit the your grandma's Proposition 13 was. It had to do with capital gains taxes, and you get this much if you're married, and you get this much if you're not, and older people get this much, and so on and so forth. And we can break that down another time. But it was such a prevalent proposition and helpful that they're sneaking it in now, hoping you don't read it and think it's that proposition.
And
That's
so
what
that
they're doing. And
proposition,
if you go,
I'm sorry, just
yes, say it again.
I just sometimes will have to slow you down for my audience and my understanding. So basically,
Okay.
Prop 13, way back when, was advantageous for us because it gave us capital gains.
Yes, it was tax advantageous to us in very many ways. I'm not a tax person, and I haven't studied that proposition like I studied this one. So you know me, I don't like to speak on things that I don't have full knowledge and or information of.
I understand.
So
Respect.
what confirms it is before I got to the back page where it gave the arguments for and against the proposition, I actually went through the entire thing and read it line for line and studied it and marked it up. And I came to the conclusion that they themselves wrote on the first lines of the argument against the proposition. Now, this is why I say it's important to read, because I came to this conclusion before I read it in print. And so the confirmation was there for me. I didn't have to just take their word for it. So the line says, this year's Proposition 13 is a phony. Don't be confused by the deceptive title of this spending measure to be Prop 13 that we spoke about earlier. Unlike the landmark taxpayer protection of 1978, that's the one you were talking about that's very tax advantageous to us. This year's Proposition 13, yeah, did everybody hear me there? What's up, Antonio? Did everybody hear me there? This year, see how they snuck that in there? Remember when we were in the meeting and I was outlining very specific trigger words? A certain group of people will determine how that $150 billion will be distributed.
Who
But
was
they
that?
don't, yeah,
Who
who
knew?
is certain? Who's the group that's overseeing the allocation of that public $150 billion bond that goes to schools according to how high their property taxes are? And we can get into that on another day, but I'm going to finish this right now. And so it says, Prop 13 instead will put taxpayers on the hook for $27 billion. Now that's $27 billion before the 80% interest they gonna tack onto it. So when they tell you you're borrowing 27 billion, or that you're forced to pay back 27 billion, they're not including the 80% in total interest costs, which is an additional 12 billion. And Hello, everyone. The way they pay that money back is through our property taxes. And
And
that's why they make you pay for your own gentrification. Because the higher the property taxes, the more money that particular district will be allowed. So then, while, okay, so let's go back to the 150 billion you talked about earlier, Angela, right? If we allow them to do that, it's going to increase our school's debt by 60%. And we pay that debt back through our property taxes. So I'm going to slow it all the way down so everybody can hear me when I say how they are making us pay for our own gentrification. First, they put in a big loophole in the proposition that says when who are they selling the bonds to get the $150 billion they want to have? They sell it to investors. Those investors are developers.
hmm,
They buy the bonds that we sell, and the way we pay them back is by allowing them to come into our neighborhoods and build multi-residential properties on repossessed properties that our people can no longer afford because the cost of living has gone up so high, and and because of gentrification, the taxes moving, they move our people right on out the neighborhood. They bring the investors in, the developers build, and then they give them a giant tax loophole that says if you build a certain distance from each metro line, you won't have to pay the fees that are owed to those inner city communities if you build it further away. But they trick us by saying, guess what? We're going to build big multi-residential houses closer to where you can get a train, a bus, or whatever to work. So you'll save gas, your insurance will go down, you won't have to worry about traffic. Oh, they've wrapped it all up real tight and pretty with a big fat bow. And inside of it is our community. And so when the developers build close to those railways and they don't have to pay those fees, those taxes that are raising the property around it still have to be paid. And so we are paying for it. And that is how we end up paying our own gentrification.
so, family, I want to thank you for that explanation. We're now at 33 minutes, and I'm going to go through because the who I call my co-hosts, my chatty Cathys in the chat, my chatty Cathys and my chatty Kens, and I love you all for your comments and stuff. I just love, love, love y'all black. I love y'all strong. I'm going to take a moment to read through it because until I can get this thing on the next level, we have to read through the comments. So, um, Antonia Edwards says Boston as well. They're doing the same thing in Boston. Uh, Gershom Yasharal, I hope I pronounced that correctly, said the same thing is happening in Detroit. Wow, this is crazy. Antonia says, you speak all truth and facts, Amelia. Thank you. Caitlin Spain said, true. Joelle Jones is running for office. She's running for, Joelle, remind me what you're running for. And I think she's running for Ohio State Rep. So please visit her website to donate and to volunteer to do phone banking. Joelle, if you can put your um, website again for me so that people will know where to give and where to sign up for volunteer efforts, that would be great. If you're not in Ohio, you can still phone bank from everywhere in the country to help our ADOS candidates get elected so we can, have a voice. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Remember that, guys.
Right.
Zipporah says, "Hey, sis." I'm trying to go up to see the other comments real quick, and then we can get it going again between us. Okay, I read those. I'm just going to scroll down. Uh, Pretty women. Thank you, Roland. I see you using that word mistress in the right context. They were her property. Roland is referring to the Breaking Brown book club where we recently read They Were Her Property. And the atrocities in that book will help you understand on a real gut core level why you're choosing to be in this movement and sling bricks all over the country, why you stay up with the Friends of ADOS TV show to learn more about how to effectively study your politics so that we can deliver our people reparations and a Black agenda. So that was a very hard read, but it's important for us to understand what the ancestors did on our behalf. It's important for us to understand that we are the survivors of the strongest Africans brought to these shores in 1619. And
Yeah.
it's not to say that those who jumped the ship weren't strong. They were strong in their own way when they refused to be in bondage. But understand that you are from that elk, you are from that power. And it's from that power that we are getting wind at our backs to push through and to wake up. We're waking up, people, and this is a part of that process. So I thank you for saying yes to waking up, and I need for you to share this video, make it go viral. These are the kinds of things that need to go viral, not some of the nonsense I see swirling out there. So thanks for that reminder, Roland. Go to Facebook, Breaking Brown Book Club, to get the next read and then join Yvette over on her live to discuss it, because this is the only way we grow, family, and the only way we can speak very resolutely as a block to get what our people are owed. Remember, don't you let anyone ever tell you that reparations is a handout or welfare. Don't you ever let them mitigate or minimize it. It is a debt that is owed not only for slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, convict leasing, uh, it's also for accrued, ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Okay? Don't you have to understand, family, that we don't get reparations until we get our thoughts and how we feel about it aligned. If there's any guilt in you for fighting for your repair, it's never going to happen. Don't let people
Never.
guilt you about being a part of a movement. Don't let people guilt you about solely focusing on your people and not running around here hair on fire to beat the drum of other people's causes and issues while neglecting your own, because this is a byproduct of that, right? We've been so distracted by DACA, by everybody else's agenda, but have they once stood up for ours? Okay. So I'm just saying, stay focused. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty about ADOS first. Okay. Did you want to chime in? Drew Jackson says, "Good evening, everyone."
Good evening, Drew. Good evening, Drew. I do want to chime in because
Okay.
I'm always gonna I'm always gonna be like, the reason why we won't fight for ourselves is because we've, of course, systemically been taught not to. We've been taught not to even love our own selves, our own skin. I remember as a young girl when I would see randomly two Black people kiss on film, I would actually turn my head away. I was embarrassed because for so many years, all I saw were two white people kissing. And so I thought it odd and uncomfortable. to see two people of my skin color kissing. We were literally taught not to be affectionate with one another, not to value the way that we look to one another, not that, but to one another. And so it's all based on the mental, the psych. If they can get your psyche, if they can get in that psychology, and that's why it's so imperative that we read. They need us to not read. Someone in the comments said they wouldn't let us read. And they are right. They made sure that they ingrained us not seeking to know for ourselves. They ingrained that into us more than anything. The separation of our families and our communities and teaching us not to seek knowledge. So nowadays, what we really need to do, Angela, is we need to create a group in our communities, find 5, 6, 7 friends, whatever, one friend, and create a political pop up party. Make learning about the political process from the ground up, make it fun. Because we all know politics is boring as I don't know what. Who wants to sit around and argue about, what's right and what's wrong when we all know what that should be?
Well, no,
So,
darling, you're absolutely going to be with the ADOS SoCal when we have our next meeting. We have a board of directors meeting tomorrow, and we're going to plan for the next one so that you can come back out and continue this work. And we're going to heavily market it, and we'll definitely consult with you about how to frame it in our marketing materials as a pop-up party to make it fun for people to come to learn so that we can start moving as a block. This if we don't start moving as a block, we are finished. Daniel Davenport, I see you. Wow, you're dropping knowledge, you're on it. Speak truth. Daniel Davenport, I, this brother here, he is in my messenger, and I was thinking that he was a troll. But now he's on the live, spending his time with us. I think he's going to be running for office. Daniel Davenport, I think I'm going to give you a chance and actually reach out to you to really talk with you to get my doubts assuaged about you, because uh, rumor has it that you're a troll, and I don't know. You're persisting in this space, and I'm going to give you a shot. Because I don't want to be blocked. I've blocked individuals in the past on the strength of someone telling me they were a troll. And they were like, "Why did you block me?" And I was like, "You know what? Why? Because the person was adding so much in terms of their commentary in my feed that I just took the block off and allowed them in the space." So, Daniel, we'll be talking soon, because if you're truly one of us and you're truly doing this work and you truly have ADOS in your heart, I want to help you be all you can be, leveraging everyone I know. So, with that said, we're like 43 minutes into the show. I wanted to go ahead, sweetheart.
something really, really, I just want to reach out to everybody and remind everyone that unification is their greatest fear. Unification, not a revolution, not a civil war. Black people being unified together, delivering forth our requests, our demands in a knowledgeable, straightforward, and intellectual manner, because they already think we savages. They count on us to come acting like we're beggars. I'm not a beggar. It's like Caitlin said, I think it was Caitlin, she said, "I really wish we had our own land here. Sugar Bear, we do. They just don't want to give it to us." Okay. But I personally am not going to sit back and go, "Where is my 40 acres and a mule?" and don't go out and do the work I'm supposed to do to get it. Now, where I work, they would probably turn their heads and act like they don't know me. But it does not matter. I will not go quiet into the night. I am so over that. I'm going to meet them right where they are, right here. And we all need to do that.
You're absolutely right. That's what I was about to say. That our knowledge of what we're owed and what we're due as a debt is what gets that. And we've got to, uh, we're the ones that make the demands of them. We
That's
don't ask
right.
them what's your agenda. We tell them what our agenda is, like the other groups do. And
Absolutely.
and the way we do that is through becoming politically educated, reading, and spreading the word so that everyone else can get on the same page. And when we vote yes or no, or for this or that, we do so as a block. Then they'll start to respect and grant us the very things we're seeking. You're absolutely right. They know each and every one of us. It's no mystery who the ADOS people are. Don't let them put you in a trick bag and say, well, how do we know who to give reparations and a black agenda to? Let me tell you something. We were insured, and all you have to do is look to many of our last names. We carry the names of our oppressive masters: Jones, Washington, Smith, Taylor. These are the masters' names. And we were, like I mentioned prior, we were insured. We were chattel. We were like animals. We were like the machines. We were the shoes. And when they murdered us, they collected big insurance checks for this kind of stuff. So they know full well who we are. It is up to us to know who we are. And then we can
That
take this collective march on Washington and demand of Congress to give back to us what they stole. Go ahead, Amelia.
well, I hope I didn't lose my train of thought. But what I was going to say, I think, was you had just mentioned something about um
They know who we are. It's up to us to know who we
great.
are and to
Yes.
make demands and to go to
And
Congress.
and just so you know, we're not beggars. We have to
No,
we have to remove ourselves from that mentality. Like, we have a lot of our fellow brothers and sister Negroes. I'm gonna be real honest, that want to look at the whole thing like, oh, here come these black people begging again. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You know what? If you go say that to the Indians and to the Asians and to the Jews and to the Japanese and to the Chinese, we are literally the only nation of people who were enslaved that never received reparation. They gave reparations to Germans. They brought NASA, scientists, Nazis over here and let them live. And that's real talk, everybody. Living high on the hog. Nazi scientists, the best of the best that the Nazis had, our government paid them a life of leisure to come here. I don't care how we got to the moon, because frankly, I don't think you ever made it. But what I do care about is that my people can't progress in the same fashion as every other culture that was enslaved and oppressed in this country, because you don't want to give us money to do so, because you know if we do,
mm,
if we do, that same spirit of mind, soul, and spirit that you try to oppress and steal will reinvent itself. We're in the fabric of everything in this world. And that is what they don't want us to remember. And that is why they don't want us to give it any money, because the creativity then will naturally explode and we won't be subjugated anymore.
absolutely. But we're so different than they are. We're not an oppressive kind of people. We just want what is owed us so that we can be fully American. We
Mm,
were here before America was formed. 1619. America came in 1776. And so we built all of the wealth you see around you. And it is imperative that you know your worth and your value to this whole entire ecosystem and how it operates, it is because of our ancestors. Their blood and their bones are in the soil. And they're waiting on us, as are the very white people that stole it. When we collectively wake up, instead of just a couple thousand of us, when we all, let me tell you something, there's more of us in the 90% than there are in the 10%, right? Of 107 trillion household dollars, white folks share $100 trillion. And of the 3 trillion that blacks share, 90% of us share 700 billion, while 10% of us share 2.3 trillion. So when the 90% of us, who cares what the Boule has to say about it? When the 90% of us get on that, even if half of that, even if 50% of half the 90%, if we wake up to that degree, it'll be finished and we will get what we are owed for in the trillions for multi generations. Caitlin Spain says they call us African American, but they can't tell us which country in Africa we are a special people. They don't want us to know. That's absolutely right. But understand something too, family. You have to understand that you're special, not necessarily because you come from like kings and queens of Africa. Understand that a lot of us was sold by our African brothers who over tribal fights. Okay, there were tribal fights, and they would steal us and sell us to the Europeans to enslave us. So a lot of us come from bottom caste in Africa. I'm not telling you that to make you feel ashamed, but I want you to understand the truth of the real strength of Africa. It's in the bottom caste in the same way it's in the bottom caste in us. This is not in any way, shape, or form to take away from our excellence. But imagine that the bottom caste being sold into slavery, that we are still here 40 million strong. Okay? That's
You can't
huge.
destroy. You can't. I'm sorry, darling. You cannot kill, cannot destroy what you didn't create. You just can't do it.
And so I want you to celebrate the fact that many of us did not come from kings and queens. We were the bottom in Africa, which made it easy to capture us and sell us. And I guess maybe a few dignitaries may have slipped through because of the tribal fights. But for the most part, that's what we come from. And that is the best of Africa. Those are the people who can never afford to come over here. Who you're looking at in this country, in this day, by and large, it wouldn't surprise me if we took a poll. They are descendants of slave traders. And they have the wealth to train and study in London and then come over here and mark a box for African American because Blackness has been flattened in this country by design. So they check the box African American at the Ivy League schools that our ancestors built with their lives. And they take up all the space in these Ivy Leagues and get even more education. And once they graduate from there, they're the ones being allowed into the 6-figure a year jobs because all the while we haven't been educated in the same way. This is why Bernie Sanders' class-based policies don't fix us as a race. What difference does it make if you give another white wealth transfer by way of erasing student loan debt when only 16% of ADOS are college degreed? What difference does it make if he gives Medicare for all and you don't have a home with which to take care of yourself? How in the world will you ever be well if you're stressed about your very survival? Where are we supposed to move? Into the hospitals? So please understand that Bernie Sanders is no different from the rest. He's looking to protect his Jewish people. He wasn't a no to Jewish reparations, but when it came to our reparations, he dumbed down every time he was asked, and Jamie and Fowler was thrown out of his town hall because he begged the same question. He is just as bad for us as all the rest.
All of them.
So don't fall for the tricks, family. Go ahead, sweetheart. You want to chime in? We're at
Yeah, no,
6:50. Got
I was
one more
just gonna
minute.
say, okay, and this is really quick.
No, don't speed. Take your time,
Okay,
sis. Pray us out.
well, here's what I want to say is you will never be able to vote with your conscience if you don't use it. Period. Period. Because unless we become consciously aware via knowledge of what is being done to us, then we'll never know. We'll always be left in the dark. So I would just melt inside if there was a line outside of a political pop-up party where there's a massive 110-inch screen and everybody's got a glass of wine and a ballot and your group and your friends, and we're all laughing and talking about learning how the American governmental system, voting system, electing system, political system works, so that when we learn it we can teach it to our children and our children's children, and we can make sure that the proper way to learn how to vote and make laws happen in our communities is being taught in our community schools, all the way starting from kindergarten, from the bottom up.
Well, sis, now that you're in my life, world, and affairs, we're going to collaborate our efforts to guarantee your dream and your vision comes to full fruition. And that I can guarantee you. You're one of us now. You're one of us
Okay.
now. And with that said, family, we're at the top of the hour. Remember to like this video and share it with your chapters, with your friends, with your family. Make it go viral. Borrow from some of Amelia Milan's infinite wisdom. Throw your own pop up parties, whether they be in the house or at the meeting halls. Let's get this kind of information out to everyone so we can start to move as a block and deliver the ADOS everything that they're long overdue. And with that said, family, you know I never retire the show without praying a small. Oh, sorry, Amelia, did you have something to
Yeah.
say?
One last thing. I'm so sorry for interrupting. I
Oh,
just want
no.
everybody to remember, please read it for yourselves. But it's a big fat no on phony Proposition 13.
No, no, no. Okay. And with that said, I will close us out with the prayer of protection that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever ADOS and its allies are, God is, because you are the face of God, you are the hands of God, you are the feet of God, you are the image, likeness of God. I thank you so much. Until Saturday, when I'll have my amazing guest, Shirley Huzar, sharing with us about the history of the Freedmen's Bureau Bank. I want you to make it a beautiful, God inspired rest of your evening and work week. Remember, I love you black, I love you strong. Mwah. Peace, family. Thank you, Amelia. I'll be in touch, love.
Okay.